Good morning and welcome to Mental Health Matters Office Hours with me, Dr Audrey Tang. My co-host is Judith Crosier, and today we are going to be sharing some of the brilliant work of one of our resident practitioners. We're very blessed to have so many resident experts on our show because we want to bring you information and support from people who are working in the field. And one of our favourite experts is Dr Gus Chaves. He was a clinical GP, he was trained in Brazil, and not only that, he was trained in hospital clowning, and we've got a whole show about how that works, but he talks so much about the importance of person-centred healing, because we've got to listen to what the person says. And he moved out of clinical general practice in order to focus on being able to give his clients, his patients, the length of support that they need and the individual support that they need. And so we're so happy that he is preparing to give you his top tips and tools for thriving and living your best life. So I'm very excited for today's show. Jude, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Always better when we've got Dr Gus in.
I know he definitely is one of our favourites.
It's all about the reframing. I think it's one of those things where I know I can get into these spaces, these head spaces where everything's negative and then the more you see, the more negative it gets as well. And sometimes just a simple rephrase or reframe makes such a difference.
Yeah, it does. It's quite often how you look at something, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And yeah, I came in this morning feeling a little bit discombobulated with everything, and yeah, it's easy to kind of stay within that, but then just a simple different way of, or you just talk about something completely different, and then it does reframe. You can reframe yourself if you like.
Exactly. So let's start with one of the things Dr Gus talks a lot about, and that his work is involved in, is motivating people.
Yeah.
And I know you've just started a gym routine.
Yes.
And I started going back to Park Run because the weather's a bit nicer.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
Do you know?
No. I like it when I've done it.
You like the way?
It makes me feel great when I've done it.
Yeah. You don't like doing it.
And it's also as you get to sort of, the end of kilometre 4 when you're sweating, it's unpleasant, it's just horrible. And every week, I've always got this internal struggle. Do you ever have that going to the gym?
No, I have to be honest. I don't. All right. But I think that might change because I have engaged a personal trainer. So I know that my personal trainer is waiting for me there. And I know that he's going to put me through my paces, and I don't really have to think about it because I know that he's going to set the machines up for me. And he's going to say, right, this is what you have to do. He's going to show me what to do. But I can't do that ongoing. I'm going to have to, relinquish him and maybe just have once a fortnight or something. So that's when I'm probably going to be in the position that you're in now with Park Run.
That's really interesting because here you're talking, but you're also talking about accountability, not necessarily internal motivation to want to go out there and do that. You just don't want to let them down.
I think that's what it is, and that's what I'm not very good at is the opposite of that. So because I want to do well for somebody else, and that's kind of what I'm about. So I need to do the whole self-motivation thing. I want to do it because I want to do it for myself, and that's what I need to learn, I think.
We are in luck. Yeah. Because the very first thing Dr Gus is going to be talking about is reframing that very simple, I've got to do this particular, I have to do something. So over to you, Dr Gus.
Words have a huge power and influence in how we interpret the world and our reality. So wording correctly can have a huge impact on how you perceive the life you live and the changes you want to make. So my tip for you today is to replace have to with get to. Now let's say an example. I have to eat healthy becomes I get to eat healthy. I have to exercise becomes I get to exercise. The sense of burden that have to brings is transformed into an opportunity, a privilege. So pay attention to your have to statements today. Try swapping them with get to and notice how it changes your perspective.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gus. That really makes quite a difference, using those two little words of being able to say, I get to do something rather than I have to do something. You can hear it already. Whenever I say get to, it sounds so much more positive compared to I have to. Jude, how did you feel watching that? Because that did shift something in me.
Yeah, me too. And actually, that's what I need to start thinking. I get to go to the gym today.
Yeah.
You know, I get to do this for myself rather than I really need to get there because, you know, there's somebody who is going to be, you know, I'm not letting him down if I don't go, but equally I need to get that out of my mind that I'm doing it to please someone else, kind of thing.
And actually that reminds me of something else you said when you first came in, because I know when you came in you weren't, I like the word discombobulated.
Yeah, I was a bit.
She used it first. But what you also said was, but actually we're all very lucky. Us and our contemporaries.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes worrying about whether I have to or get to do parkrun, you know, that's not a bad problem to have.
No, it isn't. We are fortunate, aren't we, that we can choose to do that. And we have the opportunity.
And it's so funny how now thinking about that based on what Dr. Gus has said has made what you said so much more significant, whereas we just had it as a conversation when you came in.
Yeah, and exactly. We weren't talking about Gus, we weren't talking about this show.
Yeah.
We were just talking.
And I think this is why these sorts of conversations are so important. And if it does spark conversation with your contemporaries, with your workplace, it's better to have the conversation than to just, I don't know, keep going through life without even thinking about it. There's an element of stopping and pausing and reflecting, and that in itself can make things really different.
Yeah, exactly. And I was explaining when I came in that that's what I was kind of doing last night, just thinking how fortunate I am to have been brought up in the family that I was brought up in and have the opportunities that I've had and still have, etc., etc. And to a certain extent, yes, we do make our own fortune, we do make our own luck, but actually, yeah, I felt very lucky last night, and that's what I was kind of trying to communicate with you this morning.
I think that's really important because there's this quite an old piece of psychological research. Now, I talk about psychological research a lot on this show, and I'm digging things back to when I was in A-level, but they endure. This stuff endures. And there's something called the locus of control. And the locus
I've heard of
that. And it's almost a theory about how we focus on whether we've got agency or whether everything is just to do with luck and fate and we can't do anything about it. Now, it reminded me because you used the phrase, we're so lucky, but also you talked about making your own luck. And so sometimes it used to be depression was linked more with having that external locus. And nothing I can do is going to make a difference. But sometimes I think in today's day and age, if we can accept that sometimes we can't make a difference, sometimes bad things just happen. But that doesn't mean we can't make a difference in other ways. I think we have to have a balance of the two. And I don't think depression is just linked to the external locus anymore.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because that is the massive $6 million question. What is depression?
Yeah.
You know, where does that come from?
Yeah.
Do we have any control about it?
Yes, yeah, and there's the link to that is this thing called learned helplessness. No one experiments on animals anymore, but it was this idea that the dog was put into it gave an electric shock on its pads, and I know you're a dog lover. This is what happened.
Yeah.
And if the buzzer went off, the dog would get the electric shock, but it could jump off. It could jump off to a safe space. But when they put up the barriers so the dog couldn't jump off, and the buzzer kept going off, and the dog knew it couldn't escape, it just kind of sat down and
Gave up.
Learned helplessness. So I can see that very old-fashioned thinking, but I think today there is something about accepting some things we can't change. And it reminds me of a conversation we had with Yinka, who's an employability coach, who said, well, with the best will in the world, if we're telling kids they can be anything, if you want to be a pilot, you've got to have 20/20 vision, or else it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
there is that balance that's needed?
Yeah, you sort of can do anything you want to do, but within
You've
some
got
kind
to
of
understand.
parameters and some limitations.
And parameters are okay.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us on to our next piece from Dr. Gus. This is a little exercise he likes to do, and it's called Interior Designing Your Life. Over to you, Dr. Gus.
Struggling to remain positive. Feel like you naturally lean toward pessimism. Let's try this. Be the interior designer of your own life. Imagine you're redesigning a house. So the step one would be strip everything away. No decoration, no wallpaper, no lights, just an empty space. And see it for what it truly is. Then we get to step number 2. Now, consciously choose what to bring back in. What will make this a good place to be? Okay, now that you understand the concept, let's apply this to your words. Okay? So step 1 would be clear the space. So remove the words you normally use to describe your life, especially the ones that frame things negatively. Now, what's left? Just observe for a second. Try to see what's happening. The tip here is to be descriptive and forget your judgmental part. Then we get to step number 2, which is once you've done that, you can start redecorating, and this time with more thoughtful, uplifting, or simply more accurate words. And with that, you change the way you experience life. Instead of calling it a bad day, what if it's just a rainy day? That small shift leaves room for it to still be an amazing one. So try using neutral language to describe your day-to-day. See how it shifts your perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Gus. Why is it we spend so much care over picking the wallpaper, picking the decor, and we don't do the same for our own vessel that we live in all the time?
Exactly. We can move house, can't we? Or we can make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really good question, and personally, it's something that I've been questioning more and more, which is why as you know, I've left my other jobs, and I'm just going to have like a little break, a few months, just to work on myself. So you mentioned it before, joining the gym and doing other stuff, and it gets drummed into you, and people say it all the time, don't they? Life's not a rehearsal. You only get one body. You only get one life. And actually, now I've just realised that it's not that I didn't know it, but I feel it. So now I am going to do that internal design on myself, if you like. Yeah. But as to why we don't do it as a matter of course, I don't know. Why do you think?
I think we haven't been taught to.
Yeah.
You know, because
it's just simple as that.
Yeah, I think it reminds me of when I teach mindfulness.
Yeah.
And you're talking about breathing, and not everybody likes it. I get it, but people don't know how to breathe. Not properly.
No.
Not fully.
Yeah.
We breathe up here.
Yes.
And that actually is closer to causing panic attacks than diaphragm breathing, and also it's better for our projection, it's better for our just all over.
Everything,
it's better,
yeah.
And we don't know how to do it. So I think if we think back to now, I know you and I don't have children, but if you have children out there, do you use the phrase, oh, just calm down, calm down? How do you calm down?
We have said that in our teaching careers, I'm sure. We don't have our own children, but we've taught children.
And I don't know.
Well, exactly. And I sometimes you see children fighting with themselves. How do you do it? But it's the breathing.
But it's all of that.
Yeah.
It's we say a lot of these things thinking everybody knows how to do it just like that. But actually, we sometimes need to be taught.
Yeah.
And this is why we're so happy to have Dr. Gus on today's show, because he is giving us these actual techniques. So now that we're adults and we have ways of calming down, what are some of your best ways?
Go for a walk.
Yeah.
It's always my dog and nature.
Love that.
Yeah, because it's a proven fact that if you're with a pet, you know, a dog or a cat,
Yep.
your blood
Oxytocin,
pressure lows, and all the happy hormones come out. So my dog, and just walking.
Yeah. I really like that one as well, and I know it's something that my husband will use. He just sort of needs to get out of that space, and then. But one thing he's learned to do is to tell me, "I'm just going out. I'm coming back, and we will discuss it afterwards." Okay. Because otherwise, it winds. Where are you going?
Well, it might, I don't know about in your case, but it can bring up feelings of abandonment. If somebody just walks out in the middle of a heated discussion maybe, or any kind of a discussion.
But they're trying to calm down.
Yes. But you're right. If you just say, I'll just be gone for 10 minutes and I'll come back, but I just need this time.
Yeah.
I had an ex-boyfriend that used to do that, and I used to panic. He's going forever. I was very young.
Yeah.
But once he walks out the door, in my mind, that's it. I'm never going to see him again. But all he wanted to do was that, but he never said it. Yeah. So, yeah.
But this is the thing. I think one of the biggest issues that we have today is we don't talk about some of these techniques, these tools, and even explain what we're doing when we're doing it. And so it is, we had, I think, a beautiful conversation with Anita from Menopause Alliance, talking to her daughters about this is how I connect with nature and this is what I like to do. And that teaches so much, because you're not only role modeling great healthy behaviors, but you're explaining it to people as well.
Exactly. And I think you're right. You know, I'm thinking about young children that I taught, and I know you just taught. You did primary as well.
Yes, because you helped me get that job actually, because you were so experienced in primary.
Yeah, so we've both taught young children, which is really, really lovely. But yeah, it seems obvious when you say it, but actually there should be ways of teaching children how to calm down, how to be still and in the moment.
It's almost, I'm going to do a little experiment with you actually.
Ooh,
I know. It's something that you're so good at doing. So tying a shoelace. Explain to me how to tie a shoelace.
I mean, I'd have to show you.
Yeah. But imagine I couldn't see it. So it's always hard, isn't it?
Yes.
And I've done this in classes.
Have you?
And people start doing things like, and you get one of the laces and you make bunny rabbit ears and it's fun because I get what they're doing and I understand the loop chases round but unless you're physically seeing people do it and really explaining this is why we're doing it and you're watching it, it's really difficult to understand. So I think there is really something in when we're educating other people and when we're role modeling behaviours that some sort of explanation comes in there.
Yes, it's that. I mean, it's kind of the YouTube here, isn't it? We don't tend to explain because people say, oh, I'll look it up, I'll just watch it on YouTube. But the art of, I mean, we were very good teachers, but to try and teach and explain how to tie a shoelace
when you're
really
so good
difficult.
at it, naturally.
Yeah.
So, again, good that we've got Dr. Gus, because he is going to give us some techniques for managing stress. And again, if you like these, use these. If you don't like them, it's okay. Learning is a pick and mix. But let's go over to Dr. Gus.
Stress is inevitable, but how we handle it makes all the difference. One powerful way to manage stress is by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's natural way of shifting from fight or flight to rest and digest. Now, how do we do that? That's the question. The first technique that I'm going to show you helps you get there. It's the 5-5-5 breathing technique. It's a simple yet powerful tool to calm the body and mind. So inhale for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, and exhale for 5 seconds. You can imagine a triangle in front of you if it helps. Why does it work? It stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system by relaxing the body and promoting rest and digest functions. Also, by reversing the fight or flight response by slowing the heart rate. Also, by lowering your blood pressure and by stimulating digestion when the body is in a relaxed state. Bonus facts. A study found that modulating heart rate oscillation can impact plasma amyloid beta and tau levels in both younger and older adults, What does that mean? It means this technique may even help prevent Alzheimer's. Another technique you can use is to elevate your feet after a long day. When you get home after a stressful day, just put your feet up, literally. The simple act also activates the parasympathetic nerve system, helping you shift into a relaxed state. Beyond the physical benefits, this practice also plays a crucial role in mental health by creating a safe space for relaxation, a moment to reset and recharge. Try one of these techniques today and notice how it changes the way you feel.
I love listening to Dr. Gus because not only do you get so many techniques and practical tools, but there's some really unusual things there as well. And one thing, which is about putting your feet up to make you feel more relaxed, is a really interesting concept because it is about tricking the brain. If your feet are up, you're not going to run away. And if your feet are up, it reminds you of being in bed. If your feet are up, it reminds you of relaxing at the end of the day. I am going to try that a little bit more often to relieve stress.
It just, again, it's so simple, isn't it? And but really effective. And I've not really thought about it like that. But yeah, absolutely. You put your feet up and go, ah.
Yeah, yes.
So, and then that's...
And breathe at
yeah,
the same time.
exactly.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
That's so funny, isn't it? But again, it's when... I know I use this phrase in a derogatory way when I say common sense is not that common. I know how I use it. But actually, when it comes to tools, practical tools like this, these things are not that well known because they're not talked about enough. And that's why I think it's important that we continue having these chats, we continue having the experts on to give us those sorts of insights.
Exactly, and it's such a small thing, but really important because if you're feeling stressed in the middle of the day and you can just put your feet up for half an hour, then the benefits of that are going to be massive compared to the effort it takes to do it.
Yeah, or even if you're in the workplace and maybe you've just got a little footstool or something, you can just do it maybe with your breathing.
Yeah,
it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Talking of work, I know there's probably been moments of your other job where you've needed to have that.
Yeah,
do you mind sharing a little bit about some of the, I guess, emotional turmoil or experience? You don't need to actually give examples of specifics, but just the overall weight that you've had to carry with this workplace and how stressful that can be.
It's obviously been very stressful because, as you know, I kind of handed it over a few days ago, and I've just had a constant migraine since then, other than today. So I think that's the after effect, and it's really hard to explain, but just opening my email and then reading certain emails just sometimes made me even get out of my chair and look at and go, what? And already, I can feel it now.
Yeah.
So my blood pressure would have probably gone up massively, or my stress hormones over the last 6 months have probably been sky high. So that's what it's done, but it's also taken away any ability for me to have anything else in my head. So it's just it just filled my head with stress and issues and the amount of extra work that
that stress and issue causes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I read an email and I go, oh no, I'm going to have to deal with it on top of everything that I already have to do in my job. So so there's no physical space or time for me to have done anything else in the last, definitely the last 6 months, probably the last 2 years.
Gosh.
And that can't be good for a human body.
No.
To constantly have that high levels of everything bad.
Well, that was really what my research was many years ago, was on something called emotional labour, the extra work that you put in emotionally on top of just knowing what your job is.
Oh, right, wow.
And so much of that relates to containing the anxieties of people, which I think in those emails they were letting them out quite vehemently.
Yes, you could say that.
So, towards you. And I know we've done shows. We've done shows on workplace bullying.
Yeah.
We've done shows on invisible work. We've done shows on just managing conflict and bad behaviours. But they're a lot to deal with, especially in a workplace where you're so intent on, I must be professional about this.
Yeah, exactly. And all of those, I can relate to every single one of those, as probably lots of people watching can. And yes, and ultimately, I'm so professional and so conscientious in my work, so that even after I've handed everything over, I'm still trying to, make sure everything's right, and then people are still phoning me because they don't know that I've left the job, and I'm, rather than turning them away, I'm still dealing with it. So, yeah, that's kind of stopping now, which is really, really good. But anyone who can't leave a job like that, it's really hard, because how do you ever get out of that? How can you ever make space for yourself physically and mentally to kind of come down from that? It's not good for your health.
No, this is one of the issues we do discuss, that sometimes there are things that we can do and we can leave, but if you physically can't, financially can't, or for whatever reason you can't, we have to find tools to manage it. And so we spoke to Dr. Gus about this, and this is something he's faced himself. So he's developed a few of these skills himself, and he uses these techniques himself. This is a little segment from Dr. Gus about how to deal with bullies.
We all face moments when someone is disrespectful or difficult to handle. In these stressful situations, how you respond makes all the difference. So what I want to try to talk about today is to stand up for yourself while still remaining compassionate. So the first thing you should do is know that silence is powerful. So hold silence for 10 seconds or more. This gives the other person space to realize the absurdity of their behavior. Often they'll feel exposed. Then ask a question. The person who asks the questions controls the conversation. So try something like, do you always talk to people this way? And let them listen to that. Let them realize that you're aware of what they're doing. This flips the focus back on them and disrupts their pattern. Two key things to remember. First, it's not about you. This behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Everyone is going through something. So stand up for yourself always, but also be compassionate. People have their own struggles. Let them be and respect their journey. I hope you never have to deal with a situation like this. But if you do, try this approach and let me know in the comments how it went.
That was a really, in a way, it was quite hard to watch. So thank you, Dr. Gus, because I know of that personal experience that can be triggered when it comes to reflecting on something where you've had to develop those skills and you've had to learn those skills. So Jude, I know because you've been through it as well, did you find it triggering certain things in you as well?
I could definitely relate to a lot of it. And I've had situations where I've been in professional meetings where there's members of the public in attendance, and one of my colleagues essentially will say something so outrageous which has been against my personal character, completely untrue, but so outrageous, and my natural instinct is to just jump up and go, "You're so wrong." Yes, exactly. Be really defensive. But I can see that actually it probably would have been more powerful if I'd have just let it go and let it hang, and then the onus is on that person rather than on me to defend myself.
Because I think there's two things that pulls up here when Dr. Gus is talking about just ask, what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
So, could you repeat that? It's a gentle way of getting someone to think about what they just said. But then you also look at, and we have done in a show, talked about the type of person who would behave so badly in that sort of context. And if they are driven by power or narcissism, in fact, I know the word narcissism is thrown around a lot now, and we're not necessarily talking about its diagnosed use, we're talking about just narcissistic traits in people.
Yes.
One of the things that narcissistic traits manifest as is just being mean. Yeah. But when you retaliate, when you say, "But that's not true," they go, oh, there you go. See, she's being mean.
Exactly.
Just what I said, just what they provoke you into that. And so sometimes just having a way of dealing with it that isn't playing into their hands.
I know. And I'm smiling, and it's really the opposite of funny. But I'm just thinking about some of the things that have been said, so outrageous. And you just think, what? So yes, you're right. It's the provocation that if that isn't met, then it's going to look bad on the person saying all the horrible things.
Yes.
And that's something I've learnt now.
But that's the worst part, isn't it? When you have to learn through experience.
Exactly.
But I think that's the thing. I think sometimes people are provoking you into behaving in the way they've just accused you of behaving, just so they can say, oh, look, that was right.
Yes. And one time I was accused of being too calm and too professional.
Oh, no!
So somebody ranted at me for 35 minutes down the phone, trying to provoke me. And in the end, when I said, I kind of got some and said, you're being absolutely out. He's like, that's what we want to see. He said, that's what we want to see. We want to see some fight about you. And I thought, what on earth? So I was being too professional and too conscientious with my work and too calm.
So they're just going to provoke you
until I reacted, and then he was really, really happy that he'd got me to react.
But that's what it is, isn't it? That's that behaviour.
Yeah.
But you said something really interesting there, and this is about you're laughing at this, but it's not funny.
It's really not funny. It's awful.
So in that case, smiling and laughing, it's something that I've learned as a coach as well, and maybe if this resonates with you, that's just worth reflecting on. I know when somebody is talking about something that's quite close to the bone or something that has affected them, and I do it myself, they'll laugh through it. They'll go, that's what happened. And they can be saying the most awful things, and then she accused me of lying and then defrauding the whole company, And I'm saying, this is an awful experience.
Yeah.
Let's look at this laughter. We do laugh in order to minimize pain. And I think that could be more problematic in some ways than helpful. Do you ever find that you use laughter as a defence?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I know that I'm sort of smiling, and the more outrageous somebody is, the more I am laughing about it, because it's almost it can't be true. It's absurd. It's too bad to be true. Exactly right. It is absurd. So maybe I do. It's just one of those.
You see, this is an interesting little experiment. Now, this one we did with Dr. Gus on a different day, because he talked about how smiling can actually make you feel less pain. And so actually the way you use it, when somebody's being so outrageous and you're just smiling through it, it can actually minimize some of the pain, because this has been scientifically shown.
Okay.
But what I'm also saying, it's not the safest defense all the time, because if we just laugh our way through it and we don't admit that something really was painful, then we don't process it or deal with it either. So this little experiment I did with Dr. Gus, and this is all about how smiling can actually make a difference when it comes to the pain response. Therefore, it is a useful thing to know, but don't hide behind it as a defense all the time. Let's go over to this experiment.
Pain, whether physical or emotional, can feel overwhelming. But what if there was a simple built-in tool to help ease it? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. Smiling. Smiling isn't just an expression. It triggers a physiological response that can help manage pain. It releases endorphins, so which are your body's natural painkillers. It signals safety to the brain, reducing stress and discomfort. It creates positive emotional shifts, influencing how pain is perceived. So I have an idea for an experiment. So let's put this to the test. So I'm going to have Dr. Audrey place her hand in an ice cold water.
Great.
And we'll time how long she can keep it there. So can we have somebody time it?
Time. You can do that, okay. I'll take pictures there all the time.
1, 2, 3, go.
Oh, that's cold.
Okay. We have an idea of how long that took.
They're having too much fun.
Yeah, okay. Now we're going to try smiling and put your hands in.
Okay.
Smile. Wow. We can pretty much see the difference already.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's for us to show that smiling alone can trigger all the physiological response to alleviate pain. So whenever you feel yourself like in an emotional or physical pain situation, you can always remember that you have that resource within you. Just smile and it might alleviate a bit. And if it's an emotional pain, I give an additional tool. Try doing it in front of a mirror, because seeing yourself smile helps you to see yourself in that situation, which alleviates a little bit more of the emotional pain. That's it for today.
Another insightful piece from Dr. Gus there. Yeah. Pain can be reduced by smiling. And that kind of relates to his bully point of, okay, let's talk. But it's not the safest thing to be practicing all the time, I think, because...
Well, putting a brave face on it.
If we laugh it off, we don't appreciate how serious it is, and then we don't process it.
Yeah, exactly. If you're laughing something off, you're definitely not processing it. It's like putting a barrier in the way, isn't it?
It is. Now, I know, and this sounds awful because I'm not using Judith as a case study, I promise, but it's about the work that you've been able to finally leave and actually get that sense of relief. You had to do a lot of finding that strength yourself, didn't you? It wasn't... You didn't have coaching and somebody going, oh, I think you... Well, actually, coaches are not allowed to do that anyway, but you didn't have a cheerleader. You didn't have someone... You had to work out, what can I survive on how I'm... the finances that I've got, on savings, what's going to happen. Where did you find that strength?
It's a really good question. It was a long time coming. It took me a long time because I didn't really want to admit that things were that bad and that I needed to leave. So that's
been there.
Have you?
Yeah. We talked about this with school. You just it was such an awful experience, but you don't want to. It's a good job. It pays well.
Exactly, and you just think about all of the good things, and you think, it suits me, and it But ultimately, the most important thing isn't doing you any good. Yeah. So, but it took me a very long time, and as much as my mum and my sister and my husband all said, you really need to leave, and it's almost like a bad relationship, which I've had once when everyone around you says you just got to get out, and you know it, but you don't feel it, and you've got to do it. Yes, exactly. It's got to come from inside, hasn't it? So it took me a long time to get there. But it's like you say, I had to figure out how I could survive financially because I knew that I just needed a break. I couldn't leave that and go straight into another full-time job. So it's putting everything into place. And even though now I have left, it's actually like my right arm's been cut off, because it was so much apart, but so much of it was not healthy, what we've just been speaking about. So it's a really good thing, and I'm really looking forward to kind of all the opportunities I'm going to have for the next few months. It's summer here, it's coming into summer, so it's a really good time. So I'm focusing on all the good things that I can do, but so I did have my family and my husband saying, you've got to leave, but ultimately it does all come down to me. There was no one saying, right, you've got to do this, you've got to...
And I'll hold your hand through it.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it takes... And when you don't have that space to think about it, because everything's been taken up, it's very, very difficult. Anyway, it's a good thing that I've gone, and it's a huge relief.
It is a good thing. We talk about this when it comes to toxic relationships, intimate relationships, but actually a toxic work relationship can be just as damaging as a toxic intimate relationship. And the same pattern follows through. Friends and family, they can see it,
Yeah.
and they all go, "You got to leave, you
Yeah.
got to leave," and then they question, "Why doesn't she leave?"
Yeah.
You know, but it's not as easy to do that. You have to. It's the practicalities that you have to work out, and you have to almost be in the space that you can go, "That's it," or sometimes maybe for some people it just gets so bad where you just go, "I have to survive."
Yes, I think there comes a point, and Ronia spoke about it, didn't she, with
Yes, she
trauma
did.
bonding. So you can know as much as you like that you have to get out, and then they do or say something that makes you think, "Oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine." And that's what happened, and it's a huge vicious circle. And ultimately, you're the only person that can break that cycle
Yeah.
and just go, "No, I'm going." And that's what has to happen. But it's really, really hard.
And this is where Dr. Gus gave us one of his stories. He told us two really beautiful stories, and this one he calls quite harshly, "Nobody's coming."
Yeah.
But bear with us, because this is a really important message that he's going to give.
So there's a concept that I sometimes talk to my clients about, which is called "nobody's coming." And as harsh as it can sound, what it means is that it's up to the person to get themselves out of that difficult situation. And I always bring up this scene from the Harry Potter movies or books. On the third one, Harry is by a pond, and there are like several dementors sucking his life out of him. And he is saved by a spell that was cast by somebody in the woods. And it has a shape of a stag. It's an expecto patronum. Somebody like cast this spell. And he was saved because of this spell. Later on in the movie, he realizes his friend Hermione has this little thing that allows her to go back in time. So she takes him back in time with her, and they're into the woods, and he's watching himself being, having his life sucked out by the dementors, and he's waiting to see who was the person who cast the spell and saved him. And he can still see himself suffering from afar, and he has nothing to do, nobody shows up, and then he goes in there, he jumps in and casts the spell himself. So that part of the film alone, or the book alone, represents what the "nobody's coming" means. If you don't stand up and do it for yourself, nobody else will. Crutches do not walk. You can rely on friends, therapists, family, but they can only give you support. You still have to take the first step.
Really powerful story there from Dr. Gus, and I love how he used the contemporary example of Harry Potter. Because it sometimes that just resonates a bit more, because we get
most
it.
people have seen Harry Potter, and it's easy to picture that.
And that we have to do it ourselves. We just simply, and no one actually knows how or why, but just sometimes we just find it in ourselves eventually. Where I think really helps, and this is the conversations we've had with Ronia as well, so please do watch Ronia's episodes on trauma bonding, on understanding the narcissistic relationship, on breaking the narcissistic cycle. They are really, really powerful episodes. But I think that there is an element of understanding you have to feel it. You can be thinking it as much as you like, but it's something more emotive and more personal in you that makes you actually take the step. And we can't force people. You just got to be there to support them, and you can't turn your back on them, even though for the 50th time they've gone, I'm going to leave that job, I'm going to leave that person, I'm going to leave that friendship, and they haven't yet. If you turn your back there, then you really have lost that supportive network. So I think it is hard.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody can know it, but you've almost got to feel it viscerally. You've got to, and then that you get to that breaking point, and then there's
And as friends, we need to understand that.
Yes.
We need to
Yes.
understand that that's what someone's struggling with. They're not at that point yet.
Yes.
And it's really sad because you don't want them to get to rock bottom, but in a way maybe they have to.
Yeah.
But you have to be there to help them back up again.
Exactly. As long as they know that you're there and that you're checking in all of the time, so that they don't feel isolated. I'm thinking about a friend of mine who was in that position, and you know, she in a relationship, and she had to hit rock bottom before she then contacted us and said, actually, come and get me.
But the fact is, if you'd nailed your colours to the mast beforehand, she wouldn't have been able to contact you.
No.
Because she would have thought, oh, well, she's against me as well, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very fine line we walk as friends and supporters. So, and I think it's actually easier for a therapist or a coach because they've got absolutely no other agenda. You are their agenda. You are paying them as the client. They're going to be on your side. So in a way, it's easier for a therapist or a coach. But for a friend, you don't want to see someone hurting, but at the same time, you're just like, but I can't say any more because I can see it.
Exactly. It's like walking a tightrope, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. So talking about a little bit more, I guess, moving on to a slightly lighter approach to things. Feedback, giving feedback. So I know we've just been talking about kind of giving very heavy feedback, but what about giving lighter feedback? I used to hate it in the workplace because everyone read the book where they said hamburger technique. You give one good thing and then you give one bad thing and then you give another good thing. And by the last good thing, it was almost like, so, you completed the project on time. That was absolutely brilliant. I think you really need to work on your style of writing. I think you need to develop your presentation of spreadsheets, and I think you can work on your presentation skills as well. But you showed up. That was how bad that last bit was.
It was almost just like a token good thing.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
And it feels false.
Yes.
And people were doing it like that. And I will always give a good thing and an area for development, but I actually personally just don't close the sandwich. I don't, because it feels so disingenuous.
Yeah, I know. And as teachers, we had that as well. Lesson observations. It was always that good area for development, but something really good. And
and that thing that was really good was just so pathetic.
Exactly. And the only thing that we ever thought about when the observer left was the
negative stuff.
Negative stuff.
And
exactly.
That's another one of the issues. So it's the but.
Yeah.
We wait for that. So even when people are telling you something nice, you're sitting there and you're
waiting.
But, and you even say it, don't you? You go, but, and then they go on to whatever it is that they really wanted to talk to you about. We know you do that. We know everybody does that. So what can we do to make a difference? What can we do instead? What's worked for you? Has anything worked? Has anything worked, whether you're giving feedback or receiving feedback?
Well, actually, and I know you're going to talk about what Dr. Gus said, but ever since we spoke to him about this, this is what's stuck in my head. So I try and do this.
This is a beautiful technique. We won't spoil it for you. So let's go over to Dr. Gus for how to give feedback.
Sometimes we use the situation we're going through as an excuse to procrastinate on making the changes we desire and worsening our well-being. We say things like, I want to go to the gym, but I'm tired. Or there's another version like, I want to eat healthy, but my family loves having takeaway. So my tip for you today is to replace buts by ends. So get the buts, throw them out, stay with the ends. So let's reframe it. I am tired and I want to go to the gym. Or my family loves having takeaway and I'm committed to eating healthy. Buts are roadblocks. They're barriers that we build up. And ends allow both realities to coexist and makes us aware that they are not always related. So find where you're using buts in your life and see how much of it is real or just a really well-structured self-sabotage strategy. and try replacing them with ends and see how it changes your mindset.
Well, we've reached the last bit of the show where there's so much to reflect on, but I know today we've been reflecting all the way through. There's been so much to think about and so many ways of reframing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's nice to be given ways of reframing and not spinning a situation into a positive situation, but just learning how to look at something a bit differently.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's also, like we said at the start of the show, it's things we do anyway naturally. Like you came in saying, well, I'm really grateful that I'm lucky to be in this position. But it's about taking that moment to go, no, that was meaningful. And that's actually a really good thing. So it meant so much more, having now done this show, to take what you said this morning, which I might have otherwise just gone as, oh, we were having conversation.
Oh.
And now I kind of go, oh, no. I think it is worthwhile remembering those moments, you know. So, yeah, I like being able to reflect on things like that. And I love it when our practitioners give us these practical tools. Another one we've got coming up is Lindsay Harrison, who from Lindsay Loves to Organise. We have her in little bits in the show because she teaches us so many great tips and tools to get our mind organised as much as our wardrobes. And so I think that decluttering can be really helpful for us. And I think Gus has given us a real mental decluttering today.
Exactly, yeah. So Lindsay's there for the physical decluttering, and she is great. And so many of little phrases that she's used, I still carry with me. Yeah. So don't put things down, put them away. And my house is so much more happy because of that phrase, which is always, I don't come in and dump things on the dining room table now.
And I think this is the thing. Everything that we do, all of these shows, we release 2 shows every week. If there's one thing that resonates with you and then you stick with that, that's great.
Yes.
That genuinely is, we have done our job, because we can't please everybody.
No.
And we can't serve everybody. And we've had Dr. Gus on our special talking about how person-centered healing is one of the most important things. Yeah. We have to work with the individual. And whatever that individual gives you, that's the baseline. Now, we give very general tips and tools.
Yes.
But the reason we give so many is because some might resonate with you, some might resonate with your friends, some might resonate with your boss if you happen to be talking about it. That's okay.
Exactly. So if you just take one thing away, then that's brilliant.
So speaking of, what is the one thing that you're taking away from today? We had so many. So we had how to deal with the bullies, have to, get to, and but, interior designing your life, pain and smiling, and any of the stress techniques. So much.
I think there's a couple of just simple stress, so putting your feet up or getting out into nature, something like that. But also the smiling at bullies. And I know I mentioned it off air that one of my favourite shows ever was Ally McBeal, and they employed that in that show, and I didn't know that was a thing then. Yeah. But yeah, just someone says something disparaging to you and you just put on a smile, even if it's fake, it doesn't matter, it makes you feel better.
Yes, yeah. And for me it's the have to versus get to.
Yes.
You know, just instead of weighing yourself down with a burden of, I have to do that. Oh, actually, you know, I get to do that, and it reminds me of how lucky I am to even have that problem in the first place. But again, even with us, we've taken different things from this. You will have taken different things from this, and let us know in the comments if you know what you have taken from it. And that's all okay. That's exactly what these shows are about. Take what you need from it and go from there. And to kind of conclude today's show, Dr. Gus is going to share another story, and this one really is focused on how we've just got to navigate our own lives and do that the best we can. So over to Dr. Gus, and have a healthy week.
When we want to make a change in our lives, it can be a little daunting because big changes come with big challenges. And sometimes you're going to feel isolated, like nobody understands you, your friends don't get it, the people around you don't understand what you're doing, they start mocking you, and you feel completely alone. So what I want you to bring your attention to is, if you're clear on what you want, just push through. This is going to be probably what I call your personal desert. It's an inhospitable place. It's lonely. It's not welcoming. It's difficult. You have to really push through. But if you just persist, you're going to get to your first of many oases. And when you get there, you're going to look around and you're going to see people that think like you, that respect your values, that love you and like you for who you are. So you no longer have to make the effort to fit in. You can just be